Hey, what's going on? This is Jamie Supertramp, and this is another Germany update. I've had almost the last month as vacation, so I've had plenty of leisure time to do things like figure out phones, figure out the bank, figure out packages, and later on I'm going to talk about a few German things that are not efficient. But some things that are going great in my stay here is I got my new roommates. I like them. I get along with all of them. And we run a pretty clean house, and I'm grateful for that. And I've been getting really into cooking lately. Angela's been here with me, and I've been cooking for us all the time, and she's taught me some recipes too. So my main things these days are pasta with fake vegetarian meat, because there's really good, affordable veggie meat here. It's so convincing. They have schnitzel, which is basically like shake and bake, and the veggie version in a blind taste test, I could not tell the difference between the fake and the real version. So we've been cooking pasta with veggie meat, and then we've been doing pho, Asian noodle soup, and I'm really pumped about that. By the way, the rice noodles, they cook in 1 minute, so that's pretty awesome when you're used to waiting for pasta to take however long it takes. So that's on the menu. And then I'm making Turkish food, which is like flatbread wraps. Sometimes it's falafel, and sometimes it's gyros or heroes or however you want to call it. And yeah, I'm pumped about that. What else is on the menu? Then another thing that's on the menu is I'm doing stir fry. You can get these frozen Asian veggies for less than €2, and then you get some curry sauce, put that over some rice, and that's a meal you can have in your back pocket because nothing in it is perishable, so you can just always have that stocked and ready to go. I stocked up yesterday because I'm recording this on a Sunday and none of the stores are open, so that's a thing to get used to. Did I mention that I'm playing soccer every day? I'm doing an hour a day easily, and I can really see some improvements. Granted, I've still got a ways to go, but I found this really great YouTube channel called All Attack. It's this guy, he looks like a teenager, but he's really good at soccer, and he's also really good at explaining, which is rare that you get both of those in the same person. And then the editing skills on these videos, like as a new YouTuber, my jaw drops at how good these videos are. So I'll probably put a link to that in the description just so you can check it out. I'm a huge friend of his, or fan, I guess, because we don't talk, but he's such a good soccer player, and the advice is really good. So if there's anyone who is kind of into soccer, trying to step up their game or get a little bit better footwork or technique, that is the place to go, and that's how I'm learning what I know. So in the next video, I'm going to show you these rainbows that I've been doing, where the ball goes right over the head. I got that first try yesterday. Left foot too, it was beautiful. I won't tell you, I'll show you. So a lot of soccer, and also for leisure time, my newest form of entertainment is this show called Black Mirror. It's on Netflix. There's 3 seasons of it, and it's pretty much about a dystopian future. And each episode is a little bit different, but some of the themes that keep popping up is blackmail. Hit them where they're wings, and people will do crazy things. And then you have dystopian ways that augmented reality, or AR, the way that can be used to alter your perception of things. And then there's another one about virtual reality. That one's a trip. The guy, he goes into, I'm not trying to spoil things, so I'll be vague, but he goes into a world that is kind of similar to Resident Evil 4, except he's living it and it feels real. So that's really cool. And then, you got augmented reality, virtual reality, being blackmailed. The first episode is one where everybody rates each other in a transaction, kind of like every Uber transaction. You know, the driver rates you 5 stars or not. You rate them 5 stars or not. But this is a society where everyone everywhere rates each other. And if your rating goes below 2.5, you can't get into certain places. And it's like a caste system, basically, where everyone is judging you and discriminating against you or favoring you based on your ratings. And as someone who, you know, I've unfortunately been on the website Yelp before, and, you know, those ratings have real world implications for the people being rated. And same thing for Uber drivers. They get fired after they go below a certain thing. So the theme of the show is it's stuff that could be possible in the not too distant future. And another one of the episodes, my favorite, I'm going to be pretty vague, but it had to do with government spying because they forced a tech company to build a backdoor into the hardware. Basically meaning that the government can use any device as a spy device whenever they want. So, for example, you know, the San Bernardino shooter or whatever in California in 2015, the FBI was like, build us a backdoor into this locked iPhone because it was encrypted, and Apple said no, which I think was the right move. But if the government forces you to open up a back door, guess who else can go through that back door? Anybody else who can figure it out. So that's the argument against backdoors, and I love that. And, you know, I put a decent amount of thought into technology and the future, so Black Mirror was great for me. And I'd like to do anything I can to fight against that dystopian future. And that brings me to this point. I got an email from the Pirate Party mailing list, which I still read. And have you heard of the right to repair? That was it was a bill going around in Massachusetts and some other states, and it basically says that car companies can't force you to go to the dealership to get your car fixed. They have to publish like the schematics of your car and the tools required. They have to make that available to third parties. And so you can do it yourself or have your local mechanic do it. So in Massachusetts, there's a new bill for a digital right to repair. And that extends the whole concept of the right to repair to anything that has electronics in it. So almost everything you buy besides like a kitchen, like onion slicer. It applies to almost everything. So the point of that is so that Apple can't force you to go to the Apple store to replace your screen, so your friend Enzo can do it. Or, you know, also a huge part of it is John Deere tractors, because they have a totally closed computer. So if anything goes wrong on your tractor, it just shuts itself down and it won't move until a John Deere mechanic comes to you, and that takes days. And for farmers especially, that's lost money. All because John Deere wanted to make things hard. So that's the dystopian future that we are trying to avoid for those who are promoting the Digital Right to Repair Act. I had really good luck writing effective emails this week. I switched phone companies. My German phone company gave me some problems, big problems, and I put 20 euros on my account and it drained instantly because I made a totally normal mistake to make when I was going to Switzerland. In that video, the last video where me and my friends are going to Switzerland, one message came through and it cost 20 euros. It's ridiculous. But I sent an email to the people at my cell phone provider, and it was well written. I considered how their position. I tried to make them empathize with my position. I was polite but firm. And at the end of it, they refunded the 20 euros that was charged in a way that I felt was unjust. So I was feeling like a winner after writing an effective email. I'm like, hey, why don't I write to my local senator and tell him about the right to repair bill? By the way, there are so many bills that come through, you cannot expect every senator or representative to be up on everything. So really, you're doing them a favor by calling to them and writing to them. Where I live, Eric Lesser, that's my guy for Western Massachusetts. He's the senator, and he's the one trying to get rail access from Springfield to Boston, which I am 100% behind. If you've seen this channel, you know that I love trains and support trains, and I like Eric Lesser because he is trying to expand trains. So I'm an actual friend of his on Facebook already, but then, I wrote him a nice letter telling him about my cause, and he wrote back, and he seems to care. And sometimes it's hard to care about politics because, especially at the national level, it seems so messed up. You've got who in office, and then not only that, if you look into history, man, the U.S. has done some shady things, especially in foreign policy. But to be fair, you can blame almost all of that on the CIA, or the State Department, or Nixon doing the illegal bombing in Cambodia. There's a lot of shady stuff that has taken place. But do you know who's not doing that? Your state senator. Your state level government senator. They don't do that, okay? So if you want to believe in conspiracy theories, even if they're probable, even if they shouldn't even be called conspiracy theories, but your state level people probably aren't doing that. And I think it takes a certain amount of maturity to love your country, like love the place that you're from. You don't have to agree with the people in charge. Immortal Technique said it really well. He's like, I love the place I live, I hate the people in charge. That was back in the George Bush era. But yeah, come on. Don't, people, they ask me, are you a patriot? And I'm like, I guess so. I love my country. Do I love Trump? You know that I don't. Come on, don't waste my time. But yeah, you gotta love your country enough to try to make it better. So I'm trying to explain to my friend that if you love the place you live, you should do what you can to try and change it for the better. Because something is more than nothing. All right? So I send the letter, I tell him about how I sent the letter to my senator, and I'm like, yeah, that's something. And he just looks at me like he's not convinced at all. And I get it. It is small. It's more than nothing. And a lot of people are like, oh, since we can't just magically have a revolution, nothing is good enough. I understand where you're coming from with that sentiment, but the chances of making a small difference are way higher than the chances of you having your political revolution you want. So you gotta have some level of stupidity in order to try to make a difference, right? Because otherwise, anything you can do is so small that it won't make a dent, okay? If you want to make a difference, there's no guarantee that you will, but you definitely can try, and you definitely can do something. And it seems it's really easy to just feel small, but you gotta think about it like in Lord of the Rings, right? Pippin and Gandalf, they're looking over the ledge, and there's thousands of orcs about to, besiege fucking Gondor. And Pippin, he's like, do you think there's any hope for Sam and Frodo? And Gandalf says, there never was much hope. Just a fool's hope. And I think that's the best sort of mindset to go into politics or political change or anything like that. There never was much hope, but you just gotta go for it anyway. That's kind of like the optimistic way I can look at it. But the difference between me and Frodo is if my letter doesn't make a difference, I don't die. If Frodo doesn't make it to Mordor, he starves or burns or gets destroyed by orcs. But seeing how my life isn't even on the line, it would be remiss of me not to try. Another topic that comes up in Black Mirror is kind of the idea of be careful what you wish for, and then kind of holding you responsible to what you wished for. And I feel like that's going on right now in Catalonia and in Kurdistan, the northern part of Iraq. Both places are trying to secede. And they have these referendums with huge majorities of the people showing up saying they want to leave. But it's really easy to say you want something when you don't know how much it costs. But, for example, being in a civil war would just be so horrendous. And I love Star Wars so much, but they make being a rebel very easy because the rebels weren't forcing people to pick sides. But man, like, people really got to think about the cost of what it is they're asking for. And in that same theme, be careful what you wish for. I guess what I'm saying about Kurdistan is, yes, it would be nice for them to have their own state, but is it worth a civil war? A civil war is a horrible thing. And when you want to talk about democracy, the same argument that this little area can use, saying it's self-determination, is democracy, right? We vote to leave, but you're only counting the votes in that area. If you count the votes of all of Iraq, I'm pretty sure it would be for Kurdistan to stay. Same thing for Catalonia leaving Spain. And to think about it more in local terms, think about if California wanted to leave. I wouldn't be surprised if more than 50% of them wanted to leave the US, leave Trump behind, leave the South behind, the people who lost the Civil War, some who still might want slavery or at least Jim Crow. Leave the baggage behind. I'm sure even if they wanted to do that, who do you draw the circle around? If you draw the circle around California, you can be like, look, we vote to leave, democracy. But then if you draw the circle around the whole of the US, I doubt the majority of the US would want California to leave. Then you can say democracy, we're going to stay. So deep in my heart, I'm kind of cheering for Kurdistan and Catalonia, but that's just based on me growing up on Star Wars and just supporting the rebels. On a personal level, when I think of be careful what you wish for, a good example of that is data security. Okay? And back at home, I complain about data security all the time. To an average user, I'm the paranoid one. To an actual cybersecurity dude, I'm a sheeple. The sheep person. Sheep people, right? But compared to your average person, I'm a little bit paranoid about data security because, I don't know, once a company has your data, even if they say they're not going to share it, which usually they will share it with their partners, which is anyone with money or a government, even if they say they're not going to share it, all they have to do is have a data breach. And in US law, in some states, they don't even have to tell you. But even if they tell you, it's like imagine if someone just gave you AIDS and one person tells you, like, either way, you still have AIDS. Only in this case, is having your identity stolen. So anyway, I'm a little bit, paranoid about data security, and I've complained about how nonchalant society is about that type of thing. Well, be careful what you wish for. In Germany, dude, everything is so complicated for the sake of security. I have a list of 5 things that are just creepily and cost prohibitively complicated. The first one I have is getting a phone here. You can buy SIM cards at any grocery store. It's pretty cool, and they're cheap. So even though the service, like the customer service aspect, is horrendous, it is a good deal. But in order to verify your identity, you have to go on a Skype phone call with some dude, most likely in India, and you have to have a video conference, and they scan your face. Then you got to hold up your passport, and they scan that, and then they take a picture of you with your passport, And it was just the creepiest thing I've ever subjected myself to. And if I had a choice, I wouldn't have done it, but I was vulnerable, and I wanted that €20 a month phone plan, which ended up costing way more. But getting a phone here is extremely creepy, and you have to sign away a lot of rights when you're doing it. So who's that secure for? That's secure for the state, really, because they know what you're doing, and they know who has each phone. So that's not my security, that's someone else's security. But yeah, that's one thing that is not efficient here. But it is. Another thing that I have is banking here. Oh my God. In the US, right? You get one card for everything. You can do online shopping with it. Go to the ATM. It is beautiful. You have one PIN. You use that PIN in different places. In Germany, I just opened up the most basic checking account, and they give me 2 cards and 5 pins. And one's for online, one's for the phone, one card is for the ATM, and one is for online shopping. And you have to somehow not get all those mixed up. And in the ATM, I was accidentally using the pin for my online shopping, whatever they call it. And I entered the wrong pin 3 times. And the ATM is basically like, go get help, we can't help you, go to the desk. I go to the desk at the bank, and instead of just resetting it so I could try again, she takes my card, cuts it in half, and then she's like, oh, all right, we'll just send you a new card. And just don't guess wrong again. So that's like another week without a card, because they got to mail you the card, and then they mail you the PIN. And when you get the PIN, there's like a QR code. I've never seen anything like it. To be fair, it would be really hard to do fraud in Germany. Like the security things they build into their documents are incredible. Like you got to scrape off a thing, peel off a sticker, scan a QR code with your phone. So basically banking, in terms of security, I trust it. But as far as usability, it's like I wished for more security, and now I wish I hadn't. Packages are inefficient here because, back at home, the delivery man will just leave the box outside your house. Now, that's assuming a risk, but most of the time it doesn't get stolen, and it's pretty nice to just come home and get your package. Here, the delivery man still comes to your house to drop off a little slip informing you that your thing is there, but then you still need to go to a predetermined packet shop. It can be a corner store or anything, and you show up with your slip, or you show up and say who you are, and then they hand it to you. And that was after a few false tries. Once they sent it to a DHL package locker, similar to the Amazon locker, but they're 2 totally different things. Don't get confused. Amazon lockers are amazing. Amazon sends you a QR code, you scan it, the thing opens up as if magic, and you walk away happy. And they have those at UMass, and they're beautiful. But don't be confused. The DHL packet boxes, they look the same, but they're not the same. You don't get a QR code sent to you digitally, because this is the future, right? They don't send it to you that way. They still send you a physical paper. Oh, and you need a key to get into your mailbox. It is like a whole nightmare that can be easily sidestepped with a simple QR code. Just please, DHL packet people, I know you're not watching this, but just in case if you do, just copy Amazon lockers. Okay, so packages have been nothing but frustration. I got Amazon Prime, and it's taken me like a month to get my router. So I'd have to say packages here are 1 star, bad time. Oh, and not only that, but delivery times are all wonky because of the refugee crisis. Countries are doing no more border stops, and it's really costing a lot of people a lot of money, especially in terms of lost business. When I was picking up Angela from the airport, I had to take a bus to Zurich, and it came half an hour late, most likely because it was stopped at the border, because Switzerland is supposed to have no borders. You're supposed to walk right. I can walk over, but when there's a bus, they come on and check everyone's ID. That takes a lot of time, and is causing Flixbus, a service that I love, to be very late. So now, if let's pretend I had to fly somewhere and I was going to fly out of Zurich, I could easily miss my plane because of the Swiss border patrollers not holding up their side of the bargain, which is to have free movement between countries. So the borders are kind of one big thing that is, at least for now, inefficient. And that's not a German thing. I kind of blame Switzerland. And there are other countries with border checks too, though. But by people enforcing the borders, what's happening is people are late. There aren't groceries on the shelves at certain times. Like, there was one day I couldn't find mushrooms at the store. Another day I couldn't find onion. Just like basic things. And, delivery time is off. So think about Amazon users. We want our stuff in 2 days, goddammit. And because of these border stops and customs and things like that, business is grinding to a halt sometimes. So borders are another thing kind of inefficient here. And the one last thing that's another thing where it's security in exchange for efficiency. And one more thing that I just cannot get over is the keys here. You can't get a copy of your keys. They're very technical. And basically, if you were to lose your key, instead of having a copy, there's a housemeister, and they'll just come in and they'll just change all of the locks in your house, which seems grossly inefficient to me. And another thing that just creeps me out is, for the sake of security, let's pretend you had children that you didn't want to sneak out of the house. You can lock the door from the inside and put the key in your pocket. And if you had a guest in the house, and I don't know, let's just pretend there's a murderer kills you, right? Or there's a fire, your guest wouldn't be able to leave. I can lock people in my room if I want to, and they cannot escape. I could lock myself in my apartment and somehow lose the key, and I would be trapped in here. If there was a fire, I would die. And it's just creepy. And, everyone I've complained to who is German, they're like, but why would you lose your key inside? Stranger things have happened to me, okay? And it's a remote possibility, but I think it's worth being afraid of more than something like terrorism, because I have totally lost my key before. So that's like a certainty. It's just a question of when. Like, I got locked out the other day, but mercifully, one of my flatmates was home to let me in. It's just crazy that you can be locked inside a house. Like, I'm used to there always being a fire escape. So that's just kind of a weird thing. And that's, I guess, the way you come into the security convenience trade-off I'm talking about is, in the US we have, it costs $2 to make a key, but the catch is there can be a lot of them circulating around. Granted, you can also change your locks for like $20, but it's just kind of weird how in the US you just change the locks whenever you need to change the locks, and it's not some huge thing. But here you can't duplicate your key, no spare, and you can just easily get into a very sticky and very costly situation. So yeah, that's my list of 5 things that don't live up to the hype of German efficiency. All right, thanks for checking it out. If you're into soccer and you want to up your technique, I would highly recommend checking out our friends over at All Attack. That's the YouTube channel, and you can work on some of the stuff I'm working on. Next week I'm going to show you the rainbow. If you're looking for some likely to happen sci-fi, check out Black Mirror. That's on YouTube. And you can just stare in horror at the dystopian future that we're slowly working toward. If you want to fight against the dystopian future, an easy thing to do is write to your senator, especially if you're in Massachusetts, your senator or your rep, and just talk to them about the Digital Rights Repair Act, and just tell them why it matters to you. You don't want Apple bossing around independent phone repair shops, like my buddy Enzo. If you're having difficulty feeling patriotic if you're an American. Just understand a lot of the bad things that have been done in the past century have been by the CIA, which has very little oversight, or the State Department. Just because that stuff happens, it doesn't totally mean that that your state senator doesn't care. And you got to have at least a little bit of hope to try and make the place that you live better. And unlike in Lord of the Rings, where Frodo, he has to do or die, so he didn't have much hope, but he has to go for it anyway. For you, if you live in a safe home and you want to make democracy a little bit better, you can just reach out to, the person who represents you, and you might make a difference. I think I'm making a difference by talking to Senator Eric Lesser. And if I don't make a difference, I don't die. So I have better odds than Frodo. But if you really just need to get away from it all, and you think studying abroad is something you'd want to do, talk to me. It's a lot more accessible than you would think, especially if you're trying to study abroad in Germany. Come to me. I can be a huge help for that. One person has already reached out to me because of these videos, and I'm kind of talking them through picking a university and also getting funding, which it's there. It's there, okay? It's there just waiting for you to find. So if you want to study abroad, I'm having a great time here in Germany, and I hope you would want to check it out too. All right, I'm Jamie Supertramp. Thanks for listening. See you next time.